Hey guys, it's me, Nez. I was just thinking about when someone is born again. I'm going to speak from my experience. I was born again as a child, uh, like 8 years old. I believed the gospel. And of course, I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were going through their own spiritual journey. They came from Catholicism, so I did start from there, but I was like, oh, that's not for me. Went to a Protestant church, or non-denominational really, and heard the gospel, although it was kind of corrupted, but the simple truth, I did believe that. Now, going through my life into adulthood, you know, you really see how sin, it just gets a hold of you, that it's really like in your members. You desire to do the right thing, but then you do the wrong thing, and then there's this like war in your inner man, right? Or this war between the spirit and the flesh. And it's like you see scriptures or you hear teachings that are just not rightly divided, and you hear like, oh, go and sin no more, and you're frustrated, like, I'm trying not to sin, but it's like it's impossible. I sin every day, which is the truth. So is it really about not sinning or sinning? No, it's about the truth. What has happened spiritually? To be spiritually minded is life and peace. To be carnally minded is death. And the things that are of death are the things pertaining to the flesh, sin, the things that have been taken care of on the cross. However, you're putting your mind on those things, you're sin conscious, that's death. Life and peace is setting your mind, renewing your mind to the one who is life, the one who is peace. Is setting your mind on a person who is Jesus Christ. Well, I didn't know that before. I was looking at myself. And the more I looked at myself, the more I failed. The more I looked at other people trying to follow their footsteps, I failed. The more I looked to the law or the commandments that, that Jesus spoke while he was still in the flesh, pertaining to the law, he was talking about the greatest two commandments, and the commandments being the commandments in the law of Moses. Whether you say the law, the commandments, it's the law. And love God with all your heart, strength, mind, soul. I think I'm missing one. Heart, strength, mind, soul. I'll remember it. And then love others, or love your neighbor. It's like, oh man, I don't even do that perfectly. I'm like, man, I'm just not living up to the standard. And that's true. It's like I was being brought to a place where I can't do it, and I know it. Well, all my self-efforts were just dwindling. They're coming to naught. And I hear things of, oh, well, I'm justified, but you got to be sanctified. You got to strive to set yourself apart. When God has already done that. God has already done that for me. He has justified me, sanctified me. He will glorify me. So what is the purpose of this life right now? Is it to stop sinning? No, it's not. I've realized it's not that. It is to know who I am, my identity in Christ. To know who I belong to know where I stand, on whom I stand. To know that I am of the household of God. I am a son of God, a child of God. I abide in his house forever. To understand that I am in the love of God. I'm kept in his love. And that I will trust in the steadfast love of God forever and ever. I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. So that's how you can have that peace, life and peace. It's in knowing who you are in Christ. Trusting him. Trusting him. Hiding yourself in him. Because in him, you're secure. You're not going to lose your salvation. If you know that, you can stop striving. You can rest. And that's where my journey in spiritual growth, that's where it led me to. I didn't have that fear of upsetting God. God is mad at me. That went away because I realized his love is abounding. His grace abounds so much more. So much more. Like where sin abounds, his grace abounds so much more, all the more. It's like, wow. Where can I hide from you, God? Nowhere. Is there any place too deep you can't pick me up from? Is there anywhere too high you can't reach? Too far you can't bring me back? Yeah, no. So really, for the Christian life, yes, that's why I don't like because I was listening to something last night, these like street preachers. I was like, yeah, when the gospel is simple, and they got that right. But then, he's going to give you a new heart. He's going to give you new desires. And I knew where and a new believer is like, okay, new heart, new desires. And then when they see themselves, when the music stops and the door closes and they're on their own and they're struggling within themselves, they're like, well, I'm supposed to have new desires. I'm supposed to have a new heart. I'm not supposed to be going through all this stuff. No, that's not the truth. The reality is there is a spiritual war that we're plunged into as believers. There is the spirit and the flesh that oppose one another. They're contrary to one another. That's why we reckon our flesh dead. Reckoning our flesh dead is not trying to stop sinning. Reckoning our flesh dead is not, trying to tame the flesh to follow rules. That's not reckoning it dead. If something is dead, you don't deal with it. You bury it. It's in the grave. Out of sight. Out of mind. forgotten. It's dead. Dead men tell no tales. So why are you allowing the flesh to speak? So renewing our mind is really what we go through in this Christian life. If taught properly, that's what believers should know, that the battle is in our mind, and we renew our mind by setting our mind on the things, on heavenly things, things of Christ, the things of the Spirit. The carnal man looks to the flesh that's in the grave, that's supposed to be dead. But the spiritual man looks to Christ, the author and the finisher of their faith, and knows that I can only live by faith. The just shall live by faith. That's how I grow. That's how I grow. So that was just on my mind this morning as I was getting ready for work. Because I wish somebody told me this. I wish somebody just grounded me on my identity in Christ. Yes, Jesus died for my sins. But that's just the beginning. That's just to get me that gets me through the door. And he is the door. Now, there's a pasture. I went through the sheep gate, the gate. He is the gate. He is that narrow way. But on the other side, within, there's a whole realm in Christ. There's a whole pasture for me to feed on. I'm a babe, so I need to feed. I need to feed on the milk, the uncorrupted milk, the pure milk of the Word, which is Christ. So I have to feed on him. And unfortunately, people are given poisoned milk. That's not going to help the babies grow. And their growth is stunted. They falter. They get discouraged. So as a good vine dresser, he props up the ones that are weak. He props them up. He says, hey, look, this is where you are seated in heavenly places. I want you to set your mind on that you are in me, above every principality and power. Your flesh is earthly. Don't think on it. Don't be sin conscious. Be son conscious. All right, I love you guys. I just wanted to remind those who are hearing teachings for quote unquote sanctification, which isn't true. That you gotta stop doing this, or you have to. Your heart is new, the whole new covenant thing. That's why if you backload works with that, the new covenant, new heart, no. We have been regenerated in our spirit. We still have our flesh, okay? It's going to be a struggle here on earth until we have our glorified bodies. That you must know. And the fruit of the Spirit, it's his fruit that is wrought in you. Christ is being wrought in you. He's working himself into you, but it's his work. He works in you both to will and to do for his pleasure. So you just rest and relax. Feed on him, and you will grow. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.